Hello and welcome back to PAO Fans International Podcast. The Americans are back. I have Alki with us today, along with Alex. Alki, it's been a while. How are you, man?
I'm good, Antoni. How have you been? It's been a while, I know.
Yeah, man. I've been good. I've been good. Our team's been playing pretty solid recently, so nothing too much to complain about. Alex, how are you, man?
I'm good. I'm good. Alki didn't get the jersey memo, unfortunately. But yeah, I'm good. I'm good. Happy to chat with you guys right now.
Nice, nice. Yeah, so we had a pretty eventful past week or so. Last time the Aussies covered a couple of big games for us, really as is tradition. We'll start off with the FC, Panathinaikos versus Olympiacos. They played yesterday, Sunday. The game ended 1-1. It was a very highly anticipated game, as it always is. Olympiacos came out and struck first. Panathinaikos were able to come back in the second half and equalize with a Fotis Ioannidis penalty. There was some mixed emotion after the game by the fans. How, Alki, I kind of want to bring this to you. How did you see the game? What were kind of your big takeaways from the 1-1 draw?
Um, I'd say it was one of the first games we saw Rui really, I don't know, out of his element, if that's the right terminology. Just didn't seem like his typical self. Like the team themselves didn't play like what we've seen the last, what is it, 4 or 5 weeks maybe, if not longer. I mean, at the end of the day, got the job done. It it was a definitely a more interesting derby than we've had the last few meetings. Kind of reminds me of just like the chaos that happened with like the whole Huancar situation, and since then, just from the officiating to our play style to Olympiacos the way they played, questionable calls on both sides, but I think the result is decent considering what we saw on the field. I think just as the post said, we definitely would have liked the win, but a draw still keeps us within it. And it was a really important game, so I'm just glad it didn't end in a loss versus draw still keeps us within distance and just really have to go back to drawing board. Rui hasn't been bad in these derbies, I have to say. And then at the same time, these derbies up until this one, I don't feel like have felt as intense as this one was. I feel like this is the first time we've seen the derby be a little bit more how what we're used to from years past. Everything else kind of it fell a little flat as far as like intensity, crowd, everything kind of combined.
Yeah, I think that's a definitely a good analysis there of the draw against Olympiacos. Alex, what are your takeaways? You always have a good perspective um, on these derbies. What'd you see? What'd you take away from it?
I don't know. For me, it was interesting, but also not interesting at the same time. Uh, don't really know how to explain that, but that's just kind of, you know, deep down inside how I feel. There was, stuff happened, but at the same time, we were kind of unconvincing for a big part of it. I think obviously the red card and the lack of a boost that it brought us, I think obviously factors into that. We played a whole half a man up and didn't really muster much from that, which is not the first time that we've seen that. We've seen that before with this team, unfortunately. That we got a red card and we have a significant time playing a man up, and it doesn't really do what we expect it to do. Um, we didn't score from open play in that second half, being after being a man up. The only goal that we scored was from a penalty, which, listen, it was good to get, and obviously it got us a pretty important draw in the end. But you know, we weren't able to score from open play, being a man up for 45 minutes, and I'm not going to say the world is ending because of that, but it is just something we've seen before. And I don't know. That's, I guess, kind of like Alki said, it's a little bittersweet because I don't think a draw is bad at all. I completely agree. We didn't lose ground. We didn't gain ground. I think, you know, I think Sturge and the boys over in Australia said it last week. A loss would have been pretty catastrophic, 7 points behind. So I'm happy we didn't lose, but yeah, I think this was kind of one of the worst performances under Rui. There was not really much uh how can I say much not much stood out to me in this one. There was some good individual performances, but overall as a team, I wouldn't categorize this one as one of the better performances under Rui.
Yeah, I think that's kind of the consensus among the fans for sure is the this performance definitely was probably the worst, quote unquote, that we've seen under Rui. Just more so to echo what you guys were saying, it was just kind of a flat performance. We didn't really see anything too dangerous. You know, after the red card, I think we should have tried to step on their necks a little bit. And we didn't see that. It actually looked like Olympiacos were the ones that were a man up after they got the red because they were pushing us.
All right, I'm going to interject here because I have something to add to what you're saying right now. They had more shots than us in the second half, and we had less shots in the second half than we had in the first half, and we had less shots in the second half than they had in the second half. Not good, not good. Statistics don't always tell the whole story. I think it's important to point out, but those are not. That's not what you want to hear, considering we were up for 45 minutes, man. Sorry, Adoni.
No, no, yeah, no, that I mean that kind of paints the whole picture for us right there. I mean, you would expect, especially in that second half after being a man up. I just, we just kind of lacked some type of penetration in the middle. We would try to bring the ball up, but we really weren't doing anything with it. Again, Olympiacos looked to be the more dangerous side in that second half, especially. They looked a little more hungry, especially being that man down was kind of interesting and disappointing, to be honest. But um, I'll take it as well. I mean, I'll take the result 1-1. It's not the end of the world. It could have been much more disastrous. We could have just lost. A positive takeaway for me, another one is also that the fact that we were able to at least get a goal. I know it was a penalty, but just kind of seeing that the team was able to at least steal a point, considering that performance wasn't really that convincing. I'll take it. I think what are we now? Are we 5 points back?
Four.
Oh, 4 points. Okay.
Still at
So
four, yeah.
yeah, so it's not the end of the world. The good thing is again, we're done with derbies now. We don't have any more derbies to play for the foreseeable future until playoffs, I think. So we kind of we've done what we can in that regard. Now we've got to take our hands or we have to take the matters into our own hands when it comes to these other games that are going to be coming up. Um, Something I wish Swiderski was at least in the squad for this game. I can see why he wasn't, but it would have been kind of cool maybe to see maybe a cameo from him. Um, I kind of along with that, I kind of wanted to ask you guys, what are your thoughts on Ounahi? We kind of had this discussion yesterday in the chat. Ounahi and Bakasetas. What are your thoughts? Has Ounahi been kind of a disappointment, especially yesterday's derby?
I
And
think given what his market value is, and kind of just if you look at his career path, where he's been, the highlight he's had on him from his World Cup debuts and how good he was there and playing in top five leagues, his age, like I said, his market value, I'd say yes. I think we can all agree we probably don't think he's worth maybe even close to half of what his uh, contracted fee is. I think we've got the what is it, 11 million as a buy option.
Yeah.
I think we could all agree it's not worth paying that. We're not looking. I mean, in general, I don't see us spending that kind of money to begin with, but just on that subject of him specifically, no. Um, I think just he kind of goes with the trend or pattern. Like our midfield this season, all tactics aside, under every coach we've had has just been a roller coaster. It's been up and down. Um, but Ounahi specifically is, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Kind of hard to say. It's just kind of one of those, when he's on his game, those days, you can't take him out. But then there's a lot of those games where he just doesn't, provide what we're needing.
Yeah, that was definitely the kind of the main gist of what I was thinking as well. And a couple others were saying in the chat as well. I think Unahi, especially in a game like yesterday, um, it just kind of makes you think a little bit about that 11 million buyout. He's a fantastic, talented player, as we all agree. It's just kind of one of those things where in a derby, you kind of expect, and again, the whole team wasn't playing their best yesterday, but you kind of expect a guy like that, with that kind of pedigree and where he came from, to elevate in these kinds of games. And I feel like we haven't really been seeing that in
He
these
just
games.
seems like he doesn't look like it's like unmotivated to play at times. Like he just plays like there's no care for him in the world to like want to move, want to have any sense of urgency. Almost like kind of like a lazy, like a Debeli type of player in those situations sometimes.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. I think that's kind of the gist that I get from him as well, especially in yesterday's game. It just looked like there was no urgency. Like we're on a counterattack, kind of jogging up the pitch a little bit. Yeah, winning the ball here and there, but you just didn't see that kind of urgency. Alex, you've been kind of thinking and pondering there a little bit. Do you feel differently about Unahi, or you?
Yeah, I have no idea what you guys discussed in the chat. I was out all day yesterday. So my answer is uninfluenced, let's say. Yeah, I don't think I feel as strongly about this as you guys. I think it was just about a month ago we were kind of singing pretty high praise about him, how he was upping in form. I do agree he's dipped a little since then, but yeah, I do want to just point out that month ago, just under a month ago, we were kind of happy with the trajectory he was going, and starting to live up more to what we thought we were getting. Like I said, now past couple of games might have taken a step back. He didn't feature last game, before this one, if I remember correctly. So yeah, if I'm trying to look at the big picture and not just kind of more recent events, I would say he has not reached expectations, especially that price tag that you guys mentioned. But I can't say I'm completely disappointed either. Uh, I would not, let's say, season ends today, we have to make a decision on what we're doing with him. I don't think he's worth the 11 million. I don't think he's done enough to warrant that, but I don't think he's done enough to warrant me not wanting him to be signed on a permanent for a lesser fee potentially. What that uh happy number, what that sweet spot is, I'm not sure, but I think there is a number that I would like to keep him for. It's just not 11 million. At the end of the day, this player still has potential. He's only what, 24.
Yeah.
So he's a really good asset to have. He has room to grow. It's not like we're, seeing this as a 32-year-old and you're like, all right, Pulo, get out of here. It's not like that. He has more to show, I think. Especially like you said, from past World Cups. He really broke through a couple years ago, and obviously Marseille is a, you know, very respectable team to have him on their books. So yeah, I don't think this is someone we should necessarily let walk. It just has to be for the right price.
Yeah, you know what? I'm glad you brought that up too about the singing the praises, because I was like, I could have sworn, even myself, like a month ago, I was saying how much I was a fan of Ounahi and like he was starting to find his rhythm. I think it was after he scored that nice goal. I don't know if it was against PAO. Um, it was against somebody. And yesterday I was just like, yeah, I was just disappointed. And I was just looking at the chat and I'm like, man, I could have sworn I was like really high on him like a month ago when me and you were on the podcast, Alex. But it's just like recently it's just kind of dipped down. And I don't know, this is just kind of my conspiracy here. Ever since those like rumors about Saudi Arabia kind of popped up like the last few weeks, I feel like that's when things have been kind of weird and he's been seeming a little bit indifferent. I think on one of the games he was like not even in the squad. He was rested or something. It was just weird. I don't know. I feel like something about that's a little odd. I know he's on loan from Marseille, so again, we don't really own his rights or anything. But yeah, I mean, at this point in time, I would not spend 11 million. He's got upside, but in a game like yesterday and the couple of games before that as well, that's when you like need to show your worth a little bit. You definitely need to show why Marseille has that price tag on you. Um,
I will say this. I do think the team in general is kind of in a rut right now. And I say that not only about the Olympiacos game that that we're discussing right now, but you know, we did beat Ajax 1-0. Obviously, great result, big result, important result. But we haven't scored a goal from open play in over 2 games because that's 1-0 against Ajax penalty, and that's 1-1 against Olympiacos penalty. So the last goal we scored from open play was 2-2 against Panathinaikos in the, kind of infamous Dragowski game, which, funnily enough, I think that game kind of did us more harm. Hindsight now, I think that game did us more harm than just the drop points because we've not kind of been the same team since that game, which was on January 12th. So yeah, in summation here, I think just the team as a whole has kind of been in a rough for a couple weeks, and maybe Unahi's kind of being scapegoated for that. I'm not trying to excuse him. I'm not trying to do any of that. I'm just kind of looking at the big picture, like I said, and I
I
think
mean, on
it's
the
for me, yeah.
flip side, I was
For
gonna
for me,
say,
it's more than one player, I guess, is
yeah.
what I
Well, I
what I'll
mean,
say.
and we said that about Bakasetas for the longest time, and now we found out it was just down to Alonso's tactics. Like he looked like a shell of himself, just non-existent. He's a little older, but I mean, the same was said about what Tete. Do we even know the exact figure of what we paid on him? He was like,
I think
a year.
7.5 all in, right?
Okay,
Something like
so
that.
we're in the ballpark of Nero Nahi, kind of in that middle ground, and it's like we were singing praises for him, during Europe and how great he was, and then not that he wasn't giving effort like we've seen body language from Unahi, but his play drastically dropped for a few weeks in a row, and I think we've just seen that with everyone.
Yeah,
Fortis, he wasn't fit. We found out at the end, but for this first, I don't know how long did it take for him to get on the score sheet, for this season. So
exactly.
everyone's having their moments. All things considered with the season, yeah, we're in a rut right now, but Tete's dipped, Bakasetas in the midfield as a whole. We talked about it many times. Jurisic is probably one of the only more consistent guys if he stays healthy. Forti's back on the scoring sheet. It's like I said, a roller coaster of a season for
Yeah.
everyone with
And
personnel, signings. It's just all over the place.
and we've had a very busy month. We've talked a lot about the fixture congestion, which has been well noted, but also the type of fixtures that we've had. In one month, we had PAOK, AEK, Olympiacos twice, right? On top of a lot of weeks with two games a week. Okay, I know that that isn't the case this week, but it was a busy month. You're not going to be firing all season long. We started off really well with Rui. We had like a really pretty fantastic 12-game run that he started on, but that was not going to be sustainable for the whole season. If that happened the whole season, we'd probably win the league by 10 points, right? So, you know, kind of like we say about basketball, it's a game of runs. It's a season of runs, right? So we're going kind of through I would say, mini rut right now, and hopefully,
Well,
Alfie puts us on back on track this weekend at home. Um, you know, the goal is to just not extend the rut and get back on track. Week-long break, decent result, all things considered, away to the league leaders when you're not playing your best football.
I
All
mean, it
right.
was a better result for us than for them at the end of the day.
I agree. I
And,
think they would have thought they would have gotten the win with equal men over
they
90
should
minutes.
have equal men, the amount of shots taken, like we mentioned. And even in our rut, a few draws, yeah, but all things considered, we haven't necessarily dropped points. Draws and wins, I mean, continues Rui's run, but with the congestion, with who we've played, how bad we've quote unquote played, all things considered, we're still in a pretty good spot. These ruts, as we know, don't last forever. You know,
Yeah.
on the flip side, like we'll talk in a little bit, we thought the same thing with BC, and look where they're at. And, they're on their
Yeah.
good side run like we were last year. So, I'm not, it's kind of disappointing just as far as like how we've been playing, but just all things considered in the context, if we look back at it, everything, all the derbies and who we've played and stuff, I'm really not that mad, honestly.
Yeah. I mean, honestly, I mean, I'm just sitting here kind of, thinking about it. All things considered, I mean, if this is our rut, like if this is as bad as it's gonna get, I mean, it's actually looking pretty positive. Again, we scored from the spot against Ike, but that performance was pretty solid. We've been finding ways to get points, finding ways to get results. Um, and that's with all things considered. Really, Juricic has been the standout player for the most part of this season. That's so far with us not really having anybody else besides him kind of being a standout so far. Like, you guys mentioned like Tete, right? Tete started off hot, then he kind of cooled off. He's kind of disappeared a little bit. Foti truly all season hasn't found his stride yet. Um, Pelistri's kind of been up and down. Like he has his moments where he's really good. Bacacetas is Bacacetas. I feel like he could step it up another notch. I feel like he really isn't where I had wanted him to be either. But we're finding ways to get these results. So my hope is that this little January slump um will eventually just kind of roll tide and we'll start to see something more positive. Like again, just like the basketball. Um and I'm definitely seeing a lot more positive things from this side with Rui, and that's what I like. I like the structure. Because again, under Alonso, we had no structure, and now we do. So once we incorporate Swiderski in, um, I'm gonna be curious to see if that will be a really big game changer for us. Just having that consistent scorer on the team, if he can hopefully deliver something like that. Um,
Which
going,
we could talk about Swiderski if we're done with the game. Oh, I
yeah,
will say this about the game actually. I did think the refing was pretty good. I was
yeah.
pretty satisfied with it. I don't know. I was MIA pretty much all weekend, so I don't know what you guys have been saying or what has been said on Twitter in general, but I thought he was pretty good. I know he's a high profile ref and all that, but I think he made the big decisions right. He was basically forced to make the penalty decision, obviously, which he had to go look at. And what was the other big one? The other big one was the red card, right? Their red card. And I think he got them both correct. My only complaint is that I don't know how he missed the Foti penalty in real time. He was right there. He was staring at it. And you're not going to see a more clear penalty than that basically ever. That's clear as day. So how did he miss it in real time? Ref of his caliber, I'm not sure, but he eventually made the right call. And the red card also, he eventually made the right call. I don't blame him for missing that in real time. That was a much tougher one, but um, after review, I think he saw that it's a clear goal scoring opportunity. Jurcic was one on one with the keeper. Technically, the defender wasn't last man. I think originally that's why he didn't call it in real time. But it's not just about last man. It's also about clear goal scoring opportunity. And like I said, Jurcic was tete a tete. So
I
Yeah.
mean, that's all that's been said is just, and these high profile games are always going to come down to who the loser, quote unquote, on this side of things are going to complain about the refing.
Yeah.
It
I will.
happens in every derby, not just with us. I mean, we've seen Ike and Bauk guys online complain in those high profile games and blame the refs or how do you miss that? How do you miss that? Um, but I think, like Alex said, I think the refing is just coming into question just because of people think that's soft or it shouldn't have been a straight red. which I don't. However you want to classify that, we can go back and look at their Carmel goal. Like we said, was it a push in the back? Is it a handball? Like it can go so many different ways, and I think at the end of the day, everything balances itself out.
Are they
Um,
complaining? Is that what's happening?
oh yeah, big time,
They are. They
Olympiacos,
are. They are really.
yeah.
big time.
Oh wow. Specifically about the red.
Specifically about the red.
I think the penalty.
A lot of calls basically go
The
in our favor,
penalty?
saying
They're complaining about the fucking penalty? Are you kidding
we're
me?
favored or we paid the rest, we're cheating, blah. It just,
Yeah, they
the
said that we bought
typical
them.
drama. It is what it is. And that's why I bring up the Carmel goal, because if you look back at it, he's got an elbow in Nadal's head. It hits his arm and then goes in. Like, so you could call it either way, but the ref let it stand. All the powers balance themselves out at the end of the day, and we
Yeah.
move on. I'm not going to sit here and, have a pissing contest over who's right and who's wrong or
I
who's better. It's just,
Well,
I, I didn't even. Sorry, don't you?
no, no. I mean, you know Elines. I mean, you go on Twitter, you go on X, and you see these Blaquies on there, and they're just, yeah. I'm like, come on. I mean, that we bought the game and blah blah blah. But anyways, no. It would to me. I think the ref made the right choice. I think it was Nick. Nick brought up as well. I think I think their goal should have been disallowed or something like that. Nick was saying. I didn't really get to take a look too much at it. Nick, forgive me if I'm like misquoting you or anything, but there was like some sort of clip where I guess leading up to Olympiacos's goal, uh, one of their uh, one of their offensive players, I guess, clipped Arau
it
or
was a
one of
foul.
it was a foul on
Yep.
Juricic or somebody. Yeah.
It was on Nadal, I'm pretty sure.
A
And then, like
row?
I said, yeah, I think it was in the build up to their goal, prior to
So,
it.
so not on the free kick.
No, I
So
don't think so.
they
Not
scored
on the
off the
free
free
kick.
kick
Yeah, in the build up prior to it.
Yeah.
prior to the free kick.
Yeah.
Huh. Because I didn't see much in the actual free kick. I think Arau just kind of defended pretty poorly, to be honest.
I mean,
Sure,
he
Carmel
did.
Carmel
Carmel's
had
elbow is,
arms on the back, but yeah, I don't.
and
I think that's
it does
soft,
hit
man.
his arm and come off. And that's what I'm saying. Like, if we want to nitpick and choose, just like they are about the red card, like you pointed
Right.
out, Alex, at the end of the day, it was a goal scoring opportunity. Um, and that's just how it is. I
Yeah,
mean, unfortunately, in football, it comes down to a free kick or penalty or whatever it is. But I mean, they have similar rules in all their sports, like clear path in basketball.
yeah.
You
I mean,
block them off, it doesn't matter. You have no chance to make it from half court, but you foul the guy, they're going to get free throws, and that's just how it works. It's the
for
same
me,
concept.
goal stands. Their goal stands. It's a red card. It's a penalty for us. It's a red to Ingison. I think those are the four big decisions, and in my opinion, he got them. He got them right. Um,
Yeah, I don't want to harp on
and
it and move
yeah,
on from it.
forget about it. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Bummer.
yeah, 100%. Yeah. So it is what it is there. So we have OFI coming up. That game's gonna be, I believe, on Saturday. Um, Always a tough game playing against OFI. They're a tough side. They usually historically give us a hard time. We always talk about it every time we have the podcast. We'll be at home. We'll be playing in Athens, Oaxaca. Luckily, whenever we travel to Crete, it's always a little bit of a hard game for us. Um, 3 points, 3 points. We need to get the 3 points. I harped on that in the chat yesterday. Um, from here on out, we don't have any more of these derbies. I know the Greek league is a lot more chippy than it has been in past years, but there's no excuse. These are the types of games where you need to put them away. You can't have like a Panserekos type of deal where we have the game, we throw it away, whatever. We need to go in there, get the win. I'm hoping that we're gonna see Swiderski play. Maybe see what kind of dynamic he brings. Overall, just hoping again, these are the types of games where you want your guys to start building up some form again. We mentioned we're a little bit in a rut. So that's just that's my expectations there overall. Um, I expect Ofi to give us a little bit of a challenge, but we can't have excuses. We need to get those 3 points there. We need to get that win. Are you guys what are you guys thoughts on this? Are you guys worried about this game at all?
I mean, anytime you play a middling team, we shouldn't be worried. But like you mentioned with OFI, I think our record, we hadn't beat them in Crete until their last matchup, I think in like 2 or 3 seasons.
Yeah.
Um, but it's kind of like what you said, Adoni, just make sure we see the game through until the end. I don't want it to be one of those ones where we have it in hand and then we find a way to fuck it up at the end, you know? That's my only thing. Um, I don't know. You guys think, Rui will go with a rotation after, you know, the weekend's derby match? Obviously, I'd hope and imagine we see a Swiderski cameo, maybe extend play to get him going, but
Yeah. I uh I mentioned this in the chat again as well. I know it's not like the biggest in support, in the group. But I would like to see maybe like a 4-4-2 to see Forti with Swiderski, maybe just to see that partnership a little bit. Again, I just keep harping on that rumor from back like in December, whenever it was when Rui brought that up. Maybe just tinker around a little bit in the midfield, maybe play a double instead of having a three-man midfield there. That would be cool to see. But yeah, that's just kind of like what I would like to see from Rui. Maybe tinker a little bit.
I actually really like the 4-4-2 shout because it actually addresses, kind of the problem that we've been discussing, which is the midfield trio, whoever it is, it's kind of recently have been lacking. So if you put it on another striker, then you subtract the midfielder, um, center midfielder, not a wing, obviously. So yeah, I would love to see a 4-4-2 and then have obviously I think it's going to be Tete on the right since he didn't start against Olympiacos, and yeah, then you could kind of see what's going on a little bit with the midfield and experiment with formation. I would like to see that. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. We kind of brought that up in the chat a little bit yesterday, and feel like we were a little bit split. Some of us were wanting it, and then others we weren't fully convinced with it. But I think it's a good shout just to try it because again, like I feel like our midfield is it's not balanced. We have kind of this weird situation, this weird dynamic going on. I think for me personally, I'd have Maximovic start. I think he's been my favorite midfielder this
Yeah.
season. He's been the most consistent. And then it's a matter of figuring out who do you put next to him. Do you put Charin next to him? Do you put Arau next to him? You put Unahi. It's kind of like that's where you need to start, or Rui needs to start kind of experimenting a little bit. Wings, I think we've kind of got that figured out with Tete and everything. But two strikers, I like to have two-man midfield. Just try it out, see if that kind of solves some issues there. Um, Alki, I saw you shake your head a little bit. You're not a fan with was it Maxi and Unahi together?
no, I think well, Maxi's just one of those guys, kind of like we had with Perez, just a younger version of him with some speed. I mean, he needs the ball. He likes to command. He's like the motor. So having somebody like Nahi next to him, or even somebody like Chadin who thinks they're that guy, I think they just clash. And I think that's part of our problem with the midfield is we have a few too many guys that all try to do the same thing, and there's no balance or synergy off of each other. Kind of the roles they play. Um, but I think even outside of that, I mean, we've been saying it for so long that midfield aside, I think just a 4-4-2 benefits guys like Foti a lot more. And I think Suderski is kind of like a good complement to him. He can play the nine, so he's a like for like if we need a sub. But I also think they can both play off each other because they're more like forwards versus just true number nine strikers. They can kind of drift in and out. They're very similar as far as like their role they type of role they play. So I think that would just benefit both of them being able to play off each other. And then later, if it's not working, switch it back to a 4-5-1 or whatever we end up deciding to go with, and plug and play as we need to. But yeah, the midfield, we definitely need to figure something out. It's just, yeah, I think Cherin, Maximovic, and I think even partially Nahi like to just have the ball and dictate the offense and run it through there versus, guys like Arau can really just float and just plug in where needed. They don't demand it as much. And that's where I think, Maximovic and Arau would be a better pairing, I think. than a Cherin or a Ounahi. But it's one of those things you got to figure it out. Is Ounahi one of those guys that you just can't leave out of the starting lineup? Back to our beginning conversation. So
Yeah, definitely lots of good talking points there. Especially with Swiderski. Yeah, Swiderski's kind of he's like that target man, and Fotti's more of that mobile forward where you can kind of build off of each other, play it, back, forth, whatever it is, find the target man there. Yeah, with Maximovic though, back to the midfield question as well. Yeah, I think Maxi's that undisputed starter for me, and then maybe having like an Arau. Arau's been kind of I feel like this season, speaking of our conversation earlier with kind of being in a rut, I feel like Arao's been in a little bit of a rut recently as well. Um, but I just like the energy that he brings. He's the kind of player where you know that he's going to put in the effort. He's going to put in that defensive effort a little bit. And it's nice having like a Maxi. That was a good comparison with Ruben, where he kind of, again, he can kind of dictate the game a little bit. He can pass the ball, play almost like a deep lying playmaker at times as well. Um, yeah, I'd love to see the experiment. We keep seeing it. I mean, I keep seeing it on Twitter too, just kind of like fans shouting for that, and I think it would be a good thing to try out. We've got Jerry as a backup now. Um, so I mean, who knows? Who knows what's gonna kind of transpire there? Maybe I think that OFI game's a good time. We're at home. We're able to take advantage of um things from here on out basically until the playoffs and just try to find a way to get the 3 points overall, really. Um, you guys want to make predictions on what we're I said that with a laugh too because I know Alex told me he's not a big fan of that. I'll give a prediction. I'll give a prediction. I think we're gonna go with a 1-0 win. Just the classic. Alki, do you have a prediction or are you refusing?
I think we're gonna end the month on a good note. I'm gonna go with a 3-1. Get some open play goals. I imagine us just magically somehow conceding one, but um, well, I say close out the month, but I think it's gonna be. I think it falls on the first of the month. Maybe start the month good, Calomina, and that's how we start get out of the rut. So
Alex, are you just gonna refuse to make a prediction?
I was also going to say one nil. To be honest, I think we'll get the job done. It'll be a little bit of a struggle, and also you said it first, so you take the credit.
I'll take the credit with with however this goes. But all right, yeah, I mean, I think we got a pretty positive outlook with that going forward. So if you guys don't have anything else to add on to the FC, we can move on to the basketball. Did anything you guys want to touch on with FC before we move on?
Uh, the Mazos, big
Yes,
loss for
that's
the
correct.
club. Yeah.
Yeah,
Friday, we lost. I don't know. I mean, words are not not enough to describe his contribution to the club. But maybe the biggest persona the club has ever had, and one of the key figures who shaped the club into what we see today and love today and will love for the rest of our lives. So yeah, really sad for the whole Panathinaikos family.
yeah. Well said, well put. Mimos Domazos again, the general. Arguably one of the greatest, if not the greatest, Panathinaikos player. Um, 9 championships with the club. Made it to that famous 1971 European final against Ajax. The club's original number 10. I mean, I can go on and on. He was an invincible as well with that 1964 team. Um, Again, we lost a legend. It's sad to see. It's sad to see. Just overall. But it was also nice to see kind of the football community from around the world come together and actually pay their respects to Mimis Domazos as well. I saw FIFA tweet out. I saw UEFA tweet out as well, send their respects to Domazos. Um, and again, here's hoping that Panathinaikos can kind of return to the level it was when he was on the team. And we can just again just send prayers to his family. And overall, Panathinaikos fans have been mourning his loss overall. Um, So that's pretty much been the week with our FC, with our football club. If we switch gears a little bit to the basketball side, we had a pretty big week. Overall, the Australians covered last time that win against Olympiacos in the Greek league. Ended up uh, trouncing them there, bouncing them 2 games ahead now in Greek basketball league. But in the Euroleague, we had a huge win. It was the game of the round for sure. It was making its rounds around Twitter. Panathinaikos again found themselves down 20 points against Žalgiris. Again, that damn Žalgiris, man. They always play us hard. They always play us hard and they give us a hard time. And right when we thought we were down and out, Panathinaikos just hits them with a blitzkrieg and just absolutely goes on a tear and ends up turning the deficit around. It was some crazy unanswered run. I think I'm trying to remember what the run was. I have
21-0, right? 20, it was
It was more than
18-0.
that because the overall was I think 32-6, but it was
Was it?
29 something. But somebody went on and corrected it because Nunn's three at the end of the quarter didn't count towards the run that they were calculating. So it was 29-6, but it ended up being a 32-6 run. I think Žalgiris went. This last time they scored, it said was like I don't even remember. It was like for 6 or 7 minutes they didn't score a single point. It was just some kind of insane run. I'll let you guys continue. I do have to bounce, boys, but um, yeah, just insane. Kendrick Nunn's still continuing to be just insane in the EuroLeague, and I'm just happy the run that they're on because it was looking a little scary there for a few weeks. But um, I'll catch you boys on the next one, and
Alema.
Bame Pao. Later, boys.
the Yeah, just kind of build off from what Alki was saying as well. I mean, this is why EuroLeague is better than NBA, in my opinion, in terms of entertainment value. I love watching, I love basketball, but the EuroLeague last year and this year as well, it's just been so insane. Just with some of these comebacks that we've seen, some of these runs, you just don't know. Every game matters. That's the slogan for it. And again, I mean, to be down 20 points against a good team like Žalgiris, to me, that just shows that this Panathinaikos team still has that heart of a champion. Again, the expectation for us to start off the year was that we were going to have a team that was just going to be good right out of the gate. Took a little bit of an adjustment period. There, of course, was time for a little bit of concern. Last week in the EuroLeague, or the week prior to that, we dropped a couple games, pretty bad back-to-back performances. We got a win against Olympiacos. We actually snapped their winning streak. They ended up losing against Fenerbahce as well. And I think that's just a good psychological boost, especially again coming back down 20. Overall, good performances from everyone. And the team's just clutch. That's why you can't count this team out with this coach and these players on the team. You can't count them out. I don't care how bad we lose a game, especially in the Final Four format, you can't basically disregard or count out Kostas Lukas, Ergin Ataman,
Yeah.
Kendrick Nunn. These guys are winners. These guys are clutch. They've shown throughout their career. And again, we saw it against Žalgiris as well. Pretty incredible run. Um, Unfortunately, I believe it was in the game against Žalgiris. We ended up losing Omer Yurtseven as well, our center. It was either in that one or against Olympiacos. Um,
I think though, I think it was Olympiacos, right? I feel like
it's been Olympiacos because I think I saw Olympiacos send a tweet out about, thoughts and prayers with
yes,
Omer.
yes.
So yeah, that was unfortunate. As everybody knows, we lost Matias Lesor earlier this season. We ended up signing Wenyan Gabriel. Now we've lost Omer Yurtseven as well. News this morning came out and it basically contradicted a little bit of what Ataman said yesterday, that Panathinaikos signed a replacement center from the Spanish league, I believe it was. Um,
Zaragoza.
Zaragoza, yeah. Ottoman came out yesterday, said that we're not gonna find any replacement. that kind of gave us the thought that maybe Yurtsevic's injury isn't as bad as we had thought. Maybe he was going to be out for a month. Other reports, pretty reliable reports on Twitter, on X today came out again, said that we're making that signing at center until the end of the season. I'll welcome it. Again, we weren't going to sign anybody that was too, they weren't going to mark the paper off or anything, but we just needed another body there at center. So we're going to be seeing a lot more of Wenyan Gabriel, I think. We're going to be seeing Costas Adetokounmpo more, and then of course our potential latest signing as well at center. So unfortunate too
And
because oh, I'm sorry, go ahead.
and if I'm not mistaken, Fener also wanted him. I think I saw something about that they had placed a bid that got rejected. I hope I'm not making that up. I do have a vague memory that I saw that.
It's definitely possible. Was it for our latest signing for Zaragoza, our potential?
Yeah, him. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, no, I mean it definitely could be true because Fener is always kind of in the loop, like especially like with Wenyan Gabriel. When we signed him, I mean I saw reports as well that Fenerbahce was also interested in him. So it's going to be interesting. And again, unfortunately, Omer was finally starting to pick it up a little bit. He was finally starting to play really good. And unfortunately, he got injured. So that's kind of been our story of the season. We've lost Lesor, we've lost Yurtseven, we've lost Grigonis. So this season's been kind of the injury bug season a little bit. Here's hoping none more happen and we're able to kind of,
None more.
yeah, well, yeah, no pun intended there, but hopefully that's it. That's it, and we don't have to worry about it going forward. Um, Overall, again, I've liked the way that we've kind of turned things around. We ended up winning against Prometheus, and we're actually the only basketball team in Europe that is undefeated in the domestic league still. So Olympiacos has lost twice. I think we're now 16 and 0 in the Greek league. Last that I checked. So definitely a turnaround for us, especially there was that panic. But if we take away those two bad games in the week prior in EuroLeague, we're actually starting to find our feet a little bit. So I'm definitely not too concerned. I'm pretty happy with how things are going. I just checked. Yeah, we're 16 and 0 in the Greek league, so we're 2 games ahead of Olympiacos right now.
That
Uh,
basically confirms home field for us in the playoffs, which is hugely important. I was gonna ask you because I liked this part of their chat last week with Chris. What do you make of the fact that like we kind of have Olympiacos' number in the league? I'm not talking. I'm talking. Kind of recent history, past couple of years, but we don't have their number in EuroLeague over that same kind of you know whatever time frame that is.
Yeah, it's funny because that used to be kind of like the big talking point in the past, especially when Spanoulis was playing for Olympiacos. There was always this weird like dynamic where like Olympiacos would win in EuroLeague and then Panathinaikos would always win in the Greek league. Greeks, of course, will Greek and they will make those conspiracy theories, but I think it comes down to how the games are refereed in EuroLeague. I feel like because if you watch Olympiacos play and you watch them, let's say the Real Madrid game is a perfect example. They remind me a little bit of the Lakers, right, in the NBA. They're just so good at winning fouls. It's insane. Like if you look at their free throw discrepancies, they're just so good at getting fouls and shooting free throws, and they're able to outscore their opponents. Like I think it was they played Žalgiris and they had like 41 free throws and Žalgiris had like what 20 if that. I mean they shot
Yeah,
like more than double the free throws. And it's like a consistent thing. Like you see Žalgiris mention it, Trinchieri, the coach, mentioned it. Real Madrid was super pissed a couple weeks ago when they played Olympiacos. It's just the way that they play. They play very physical, and I noticed that the referees kind of I don't know. I feel like the referees let them play a physical game, and they're really good at the flop game. The Olympiacos players, especially guys like Vezinkov, they're kind of like James Harden. They know how to sell a foul. And it's just a matter of figuring that out. That's not me hating or making excuses or anything. If you could play the game, if you could find a way to win free throws, I mean, if I would play, I'd probably do the same thing. I'd be flopping everywhere. That's just part of the game. So they're definitely good at that. And I feel like the Greek refs are a little more mindful of it, especially depending on where you play. Like I think we played them at Oaxaca, so obviously that kind of factors in a little bit as well. The fans are going to be pissed if you start calling flops.
Right.
Yeah,
Okay.
definitely that's just kind of how I've been viewing it. Definitely, I don't want to tweet it out because that's going to piss a bunch of people off, and then I
I'll
don't
I'll
have time
tweet it
for that.
out quoting you. Sources Adoni.
So yeah, you'll quote me, and then I'm gonna have Olympiacos fans all butthurt in the comments. But overall, I mean, again, pretty happy with how we've seen things. That Zaragoza news is probably the biggest thing that we've seen come out for the team recently. We're pretty much gonna stand pat. I don't think we're gonna sign anybody else. If we look at kind of like rivals across the Euroleague, Real Madrid signed Dennis Smith Jr., I think the former NBA player. That was a really big signing. And then they signed Bruno Fernando, it looks like as well, who most recently played for the Toronto Raptors. So
We were also linked with him.
we were
Yeah.
linked with Bruno. Bruno used to play for the Celtics as well, so I kind of seen him play a little bit. Um, pretty solid player. Real Madrid has started to kind of find their feet again. They're now in sixth place. They're 13 and 10. Paris kind of fell off. They're 13 and 9. We kind of knew that. We mentioned it with Dino in the chat. Paris were eventually the bubble was gonna burst. Um, Again, Olympiacos, they dropped that game against Fenerbahce, and now they're only one win ahead of them. So if Fener wins and Oli loses one more time, Fener is going to take that first spot. We're currently tied at fourth with Monaco, but Monaco's ahead of us on a point differential. So
But
um,
we also won Olympiacos in the first spot, right?
we did, yeah, that's right.
No,
Or
you won Olympiacos in the first spot.
yes, yeah, I do. I want them to stay in the first spot. I
Yeah.
want us in the first spot. I want Olympiacos in the first spot. They can take it. Please take it.
If you
Olympiacos.
know, you know.
Yeah, exactly. If you know, you know. Definitely our guys in the chat know about it. You know, because yeah, let's see. If they first place, if things were to start, they'd get Red Star. So Red Star would probably, lay over for them. Um, but it would definitely be interesting. I want them to have that first place spot. Um,
For the Katara.
yeah, yeah, man. Then interesting as well. The final's gonna be I think it's gonna be in Dubai this year.
Dubai or Abu Dhabi? I think
Or
Abu
Abu
Dhabi.
Dhabi.
Yeah.
Something like that's going to be in the Middle East this year. So it's not going to be
Yeah.
Euroleague is not going to be in a European country. So
Yeah.
interesting. There's rumors that we're going to host the final, I think the next year. Um, so that will be interesting in the new Oaxaca, renovated Oaxaca. Um, Overall, I mean, that's pretty much it. We didn't have too much going forward. We have our next EuroLeague game coming up. Let me see here. We're gonna be playing Milan, it looks like, on Thursday. So, game against Milano in Italy, hoping to get a win there. Again, we're down
Oh,
almost.
is it in Italy? I thought we were home. Okay.
I think it's in. Yeah, it looks like it's in
Okay.
Italy. Yeah, so down Yurtseven, Wenyan's gonna be playing for us at center. I like his energy. I like what he brings. Um, Overall, I'm trying to think. I think that would pretty much be the biggest blow is Omer being out. But Osman is another guy I wanted to touch on as well. Osman has turned it around. He did really good against Olympiacos, and he did really good in that Žalgiris game as well. And I mentioned it to Chris when that Olympiacos game happened. I'm like, this is the perfect time for Yurtseven to take over, or sorry, for Osman to take over and build himself up a little bit. But what are you thinking about Milan? Are you feeling good against the Italians?
Yeah, we gotta win that. I just need this team to be a little more consistent. We recently had a chat. We had a chat in the chat about if who's the team to beat, right? And we kind of had some split opinions, and unfortunately, it can't. I don't think it could be us right now because we just don't have that consistency. Like, we had that bad week in Spain, Barca, Baskonia, back-to-back losses. All right, Žalgiris, we pulled it out, thank Christ. But you know, going down 20 is still not a good sign, even if you're coming back from it. It's like it's good and it's bad because like that comeback was insane and shows that the team has spirit and life and that fighting power, but also being down in the first place is not great. So team just has to become more consistent. Obviously, I'm not asking to win every game, but I do still think we're a little up and down too much to be a solid, you know, the team to beat. Um, yeah, there's a lot of good. There's still some bad, and we just got to iron it out before the playoffs because, like we always say, it's whoever's hot in the playoffs. Like fifth seed, whatever. It's whoever's hot in the playoffs. So you use this time to iron it out, eliminate as much of the bad stuff as you can, continue with the good stuff, and that's all you could ask for.
Yep, exactly. You definitely don't want to play down to the opponent's level. Like again, we're able to go in and beat that Olympiacos team that was on like some crazy like 11-0 or 12-0 win streak run. And then we win and responded with Žalgiris. We won the game, but we came out bad. Like we were down
Yeah.
20. We can't have that. We got to play consistently. Hopefully that bad double week in Spain is past us now. We always tend to struggle with Baskonia and Barca. That was a bad double for us. Now we
Yeah,
go.
I don't wanna like be too down about that because those are two teams we don't have good away records against. We haven't beat Barca since 2013 away and Baskonia since 2017. So again, that's got to end at some point, obviously. But since that negative record does exist, I can't be like, I can't harp on this team too much about not getting a result there. I was gonna say one thing. This bad early start is kind of, one of the standout bad things that I see happening because it happened against Baskonia too, and it happened against Žalgiris. The only difference is that we were able to recover one and not the other. But you're not going to be able to recover that all the time. That's the thing. Like that's why you can't just keep getting into these bad starts. It's not sustainable, like we say about the FC2, about various things. Like you don't want to make your job way more difficult than it needs to be, right? Like these teams at the end of the day are very respectable. The top half of the table is very respectable, so you don't want to um yeah, you just don't want to make your job harder than it is because some games is just not going to work out for you. And it didn't work out against Baskonia. Okay, it worked out against Žalgiris. If it happens again this week, this week it might not work out. So, you don't want to you don't want that.
Exactly. Yeah, you can't keep digging yourself out of a hole every single time. That's like you said, it's not sustainable. That's just not you're doing something wrong. If you're coming out and you're constantly having to dig yourself out of a rut each time, there's something wrong. There's some type of mentality issue, something going there.
And
Um,
you're not going to get a Ataman ejection every game because I do think the Ataman ejection in the Žalgiris game played a big role, right? That fueled
that
the
was
team.
insane. Did you see? It
Um,
was a fan. It was a
yeah,
fan that got the technical foul, and then Ataman got it.
yeah.
The first fan to get a technical foul at a basketball game.
I'm gonna I shout out to Dino in our chat. I pointed this out to him because he's a baseball fan too. That happened to Aaron Boone, the Yankees manager last season. He the Yankees dugout had a problem with balls and strikes. They had already said something, and a fan behind the dugout said something to the ump, and then they tossed Boone, thinking that Boone had said something again after he had already got warned. Um, and that was basically exactly what happened to Ataman, right? You know, so yeah, that was that kind of reminded me of that. But also another baseball reference. That's kind of what happens in baseball. Like managers get ejected all the time. Half the time, they're doing it to fuel the team. Um, that's kind of the only sport I know that happens. You never see that in football. You never see that really in basketball either. But that really felt like a baseball ejection to fuel the team, and that's exactly what it did. Without that, I don't know if we make that comeback because that was really the turning point.
Yeah, 100%. That's definitely an Adamant's playbook because he did that last year as well, where he got ejected in one of the games, and it's just I think it was against Fenerbahce. He just stirred it all up. That's what he kind of does his signature fist to the crowd, and then that kind of just gets everybody going. So that rallied us. And
But you're not
again,
gonna have that. You're not gonna have that every game, right? You're not gonna have that every game. So
exactly,
you can't get in this hole from the start all the time.
exactly. You can't keep racking up ejections anyway as well because then you're just not gonna even you're gonna be suspended at one point. So yeah, definitely going to move on.
DPG is allowed back in now.
Oh, they
In Yeah, he's now allowed back in. I
Euroleague.
think this is only rel this is no, this is relevant to Greek league, right? I feel like.
Okay, because he
Because
he was
the
on the
ban was
Greek
Greek
league
league.
too. Yeah, I thought they reversed it. Okay, so now he's officially back.
I saw that he's officially back. I didn't pay attention to where, what competition. I just in my mind it was just Greek league for some reason, but
He
not
did get
100% sure on
banned
that.
in Greek league because he wasn't able to go to the Pavlos Giannakopoulos tournament because
Yeah.
man. So Greek
I
league he
thought
was banned.
I thought that was like an 8 game ban or something, and we've obviously surpassed that. So I don't know. Anyway, he's unbanned from something. I don't remember what.
They banned him for like it was something stupid, dude. It was like they banned him for like the first 4 months or something. It was something outrageous, and then he went to the Castilla and he was trying to like reverse it, and Greek courts. It took forever,
Yeah.
so maybe
Yeah.
now
Okay.
but
All right.
yeah, it's good. Again, the team excels too whenever DPG's in the house. So definitely happy about that. And again, let's get that win against Milano. It's not a double week this week, so we just play them. We're gonna play Peristeri on Saturday. We should get that win as well. Peristeri are one of the more um they're a tough team to play in the Greek league as well. So it's always a fun basketball if you're ever able to watch Peristeri Panathinaikos. And then the week after that, we're gonna play Fenerbahce. That's gonna be a really good game because they've been in good form recently. So shaping up to be interesting. We've got an interesting set of games coming up that we need to definitely pull out the wins with. A couple. We got a home game against the Fener. We're away with Milano coming up on Thursday, and then we're away against Lyon. So Asvel. So that'll be interesting. Um, Overall, Alex, did you want to add anything to the basketball before we end our pod?
I don't think I have anything else.
All right, that's all that we've got, you guys. Feel free to follow us on Instagram. We're on X. We're also on Facebook. And then, of course, this podcast, if you want to watch the video of it, is on YouTube. We're also on Spotify, Apple Music. And then we've also got a blogger page as well. Alex, as always, it was great having you. And then it was also great having Alki on as well, the American boys. Next time, it's going to be the Australians. Peace.
Peace.